Welcome, everyone. Starting to see folks roll in to join us today for our webinar on From Search Rankings to AI Answers, Understanding the Shift from SEO to GEO. Very hot topic, especially as a marketer. This is something I am paying attention to and keeping me up at night, that is for sure. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Reputation. My name is Christy Milani, and I have the honor of being the host today for our three esteemed panelists that are going to be joining us and taking us through the content today. First, we have Joe Burton. He's the CEO of Reputation and a transformational leader of $1 billion organizations, including former CEO roles at Telesign and at Poly. With a background as Cisco's CTO of Unified Communications, he brings deep engineering expertise together with strategic leadership across SaaS, AI, IoT. A champion of digital trust and social responsibility, Joe focuses on scaling innovation business models and high-performing cultures. He's also an alumnus of the Stanford Executive Program. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. Then next, you will be hearing from Carter Rees, PhD. We like to call him our professor. You will see quickly and hear that he is definitely owns that title. He's the VP of AI at Reputation, and with over 25 years of experience applying quantitative models to real-world challenges. His background is in academia and is an expert in NLP and deep learning. He specializes in translating complex data sciences into actionable business insights. And Carter's current research is focusing on the technical signals AI models use to surface and recommend brands and the mechanics behind what makes AEO and GEO work in practice. So perfect for our topic today. Thank you, Carter. And last but certainly not least is Lou Reinemann. He's a research director with IDC, focusing on worldwide customer experience markets and programs. And after a long career running global customer-facing technical engagement teams, I'm looking at Joe. Lou, did you join IDC? Lou joined IDC in 2022 to start and build a program targeting markets oriented around customer satisfaction, loyalty, and retention, all very important things with specific focus on customer feedback programs. Lou is now part of a three-person team at IDC with a program called AI-enabled sales, customer service, and contact-centered strategies. So we have quite the panel that's going to take us through looking at sort of the transformation, giving some explanation between AEO, SEO, GEO, and then taking us through into looking at sort of what's coming next and how we can be prepared for this. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Joe Burton to kick us off. And so Barbara, you can take us to our next set of slides. Perfect.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Christy. I appreciate you doing it. Fantastic. That's a great place to start. Thank you. Really excited to be speaking with everyone today. I want to take just a couple of minutes talking about how I've spent my career and then quickly get to the actual topic. When I came up, as Christy mentioned, I came up on the technical side as an engineer. And for some reason, I've always been fascinated by the intersection of changes in technology, in consumer behavior, and the impact and interplay on society of those changes. So the reason we put up this slide is as I was moving into adulthood, the world was going through one of the first great technical divides. When I was in high school, I actually took a typing class on a physical machine like the ones that you see at the bottom of this slide. And by the time I was graduating college, those typewriters were basically gone. They had been replaced by early personal computers and word processors like you see on the top. Go ahead and click. Over time, I watched many other technology transitions occur during my career. Print shops were almost completely replaced by desktop publishing software in the middle. Telephones, local stores, many large meeting centers got replaced by things built on top of the internet, built on top of the web, Skype, Amazon, Zoom, and many others. And I'm always on the lookout for the next great divide, the next thing that's going to change the way we build software, the way we work, the way consumers consume. Go ahead and click. About maybe 3.5 years ago, I had a strong notion of the kinds of things that would be made possible by the generative AI research that was going on at the time. So when I say the kinds of things, it's always hard to know exactly where something's going to land, but it was very clear that it was going to change things a lot. Next slide. So why the history lesson? The history lesson is because being on the right side of each of these divides was incredibly important. It's important for consumers, it's important for businesses, it's important for everyone. If you adapt to the new way of working, the new way of attracting consumers, the new way of building software, then you do really well every time one of these big dividing transitions goes on. But if you fail to make it across the divide, if you fail to make it to the new way of doing things, things tend to get much worse. That leads us a little bit into our topic for today, because I feel like we're at one of these divides in online discovery. Next slide. This slide is kind of modeled on the other. When I think of digital discovery, I think of a few different eras that it's had in its evolution. And when I say digital discovery, I mean how people find things online. Now, in the very beginning, it was a competitive advantage to simply have a website, for a business to put something out there so consumers could learn about a company, see its products, find out its address without physically driving over and without sending those consumers a catalog in the mail. Big deal to just be online. Then search became really, really important. Consumers could then look for auto dealers, plumbers, bookstores, and up would come a list of vendors that matched that description, which was even more valuable to consumers. But boy, as a business, you had to make sure you made the list in search. Mobile was a significant evolution of search, not just because the mobile device was always with you and in your pocket, but because it brought a sense of location. So now that search could be for coffee stores near me, because the mobile device could explain what near me means to the web and make it even more relevant. Now, through the eras of search and mobile, consumers increasingly verified the trustworthiness of a vendor by looking at social posts or business reviews to see what other consumers thought. But it was somewhat a disconnected optional step where the consumer did the search and then they kind of bounced over to review sites they trusted, social sites they trusted, as an optional step so they could judge the reputation or the trustworthiness of a vendor. Click, please. All that has fundamentally changed all of a sudden. For about 10 years, that model of search and verification was remarkably stable. and could be, and businesses and marketeers could put a lot of effort into standard SEO and SEM techniques to make sure they were found in that big G, to make sure they could be found in traditional Google search, traditional Bing search, and others. All of a sudden, um, this market is fragmenting badly with the rise of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and others. And it's a really big deal. When a consumer is served up an AI summary, and we'll take a look at what that means, the click-through rates to the actual vendor website are 58% lower. In fact, 60% of searches actually end without a single click. The end user learns what they want to learn from that AI summary and makes whatever decision they want to make solely based on what the AI engine provides. Several studies that we keep an eye on predict 50% of traditional search traffic will disappear quite rapidly. Go ahead and click. In case it's not completely clear, this is what we're talking about. On the left is where someone typed into a traditional Google style search, what's the best apartment in Chicago? Up comes a very traditional set of search results where the consumer can browse and scroll through, decide what they want to do, maybe be tabbing back and forth to reviews or social, and then click on who they want to. On the right is the way an AI engine, Gemini from Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and others get asked and respond. So the user typed in, once again, something along the lines of what's the best apartment in Chicago. And the AI went out and did their thing. We're going to talk about what they do in a minute, but they come back with a single answer. It names the building it thinks is the best apartment building in Chicago. It has a beautiful picture. It puts in what's supposed to be evidence at the bottom of what makes it so great. Sometimes it'll say apartment building 1 or apartment building 2, but it's usually one answer, maybe two answers. So as a business, we're either in that AI answer or the consumer has to work very hard to find out that our business even exists. It's critical that we're in that box. Next slide. In standard search, it was frankly about popularity that you could buy. You could make your way to the top of the search rankings with standard SEO, SEM techniques, could do all the buying of keywords, optimizing listings to dominate search. The reviews role was primarily for conversion when the customer wanted to check your trustworthiness. We all kind of understand how that world works. Next click. What's fundamentally changed is the AI engines have inserted themselves as the guardian, the judger of whether your business is trustworthy or not, and you got to earn it. The AI engines are looking at many factors. I think Carter's going to talk about this a little, but they're looking for authenticity. They're reading customer stories about your business, not just looking at the star rating. Star rating's important, but the actual sentiment in authentic reviews and posts are important. They're looking for authentic, engaged conversations about your business. They're grading the consistency of the information about your business across many, many different listings platforms and social platforms. And they're looking at technical trust. They're looking for, is your data structured in a way that the LLMs can pick it up and make good judgments about your business. Next click. In short, trust was a bonus in the old world. Trust is the price of entry in the new world. Go ahead and go to the next slide. That's why we built the reputation performance engine. We help you encourage consumers to leave authentic conversational reviews that will help businesses engage with every customer, respond to every review and every social post in a thoughtful way. How do we create a complete, fresh business listing on every platform that matters for your vertical and refresh that content often enough that it is appealing when a human is there, but it's also appealing when an AI is there? We make sure that you can survey your customers in a way that help you really understand what they think of your business, what they think of your online presence, what they think of the service when you're in your physical locations, so we can suggest these real-time actions back to the consumer or back to the business. So you're listening to your consumers, providing a better service, and adapting your online presence to be found all the time, both by the consumers and by the AI engines. I'll skip a bunch of the other things we do. It's phenomenal, but local level insights so we can understand what's working in one location, what another location should do a bit better. How do we propagate best practices from one branch to the other so we're all found, we're all building that trustworthy relationship, importantly with our consumers, but also with the AI in such a way that we can be found online, drive more engagement, drive more leads, drive more market share, and ultimately, how do we turn revenue into or reputation into revenue? I love our story. It's made to help businesses and consumers remain relevant in the world of AI search and mobile search. It's just fantastic. I think that is the end of my overview, and I'm going to hand it off to my friend and colleague, Carter Rees, to take us one step deeper. Carter?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. So I've never told Joe this, but I've seen that presentation a few times. Every single time, the first thing, and if you agree with me, give me a thumbs up. The first thing I think about is green screen Oregon Trail, because I'm old enough to remember green screen Oregon Trail, running on an Apple IIe when I was roughly in 8th grade. And so when he goes through that timeline, I remember the first time I saw the internet. And that was when I was a freshman in college. I'd never seen it before. It blew me away that I could see a color picture of the earth on a computer screen. The wildest thing I'd ever seen. And then just yesterday, I had 6 agents running on my computer doing a bunch of coding for me. So we have come a long way. So go ahead and go to the first slide. So what I want to talk about is about SEO, AEO, and GEO. And these are still relatively new terms. SEO has been around for a long time, but I think there is, I want to try to give everybody an understanding of the difference between these three and really want to drill home that each of these matters and they matter in a different way. So SEO, this is the world that everybody knows. You write a page, you optimize it for keywords, you build backlinks, you make sure the technical foundation is solid, fast load times, mobile friendly, crawlable architecture. Okay, most of the people on this call, you've definitely been there. You're probably an expert at it, and you totally get it. Okay, so the goal of SEO is to earn high position on the results page. That's the biggest deal. And you control the experience. I think that's a very important thing to remember as we transition. You control the experience of SEO. And that ranking to traffic, click-through rate, it all really matters. and it still matters. I have been through so much research, and if you compare the really good academic research out there to the fearful, fear-based clickbait on LinkedIn, SEO is dead, SEO is dead. Well, I can tell you that that is the front door, and if your SEO is broken, nothing else works well. It's very clear. Traditional search engines present a linear list of websites. Average ranking on the website page is a good measure of visibility. That visibility really still counts. All that work you've done for years and years and years of curating what works for you, keep it. Be flexible to change it, but keep it, because it does matter. But there's a limitation, and it is because SEO was designed for a world of ranked links. That world is very much changing. It doesn't mean that we're abandoning SEO. We're acknowledging that it's now one layer of a 3-layer system. Okay, so these all matter. So when it comes to AEO, think of this as the bridge. Okay, and I think that it's important to kind of understand the nuance here. So if you have a Q&A block to your page, it says, how long is the recovery after ACL surgery? If you have a clear 30-word answer like this, most patients return to daily activities in 4 to 6 weeks and full athletic activity in 6 to 9 months. I'm 51. It would probably take 9 to 12 for me. But recovery depends on the graft type and adherence to physical therapy. That is a very tight question and a wonderful answer, and it's very specific. That's what you need to start thinking about when humans type into an AI search page. We're all getting pretty good at asking a question instead of Dr. Phoenix hurt knee. We're getting into how long is the recovery for surgery, and where can I find a good doctor? And so that schema idea of your FAQs being really clear, it's very tactical in nature with the structure. Clear QA formatting matters, absolutely matters. Okay, so if your page explicitly asks, how much does ACL surgery cost, and it answers in under 40 words with specific numbers, the engine can extract that cleanly. Because we do know from the research that if you have a ton of HTML on your page and piles of JavaScript, it'll start skipping you. It just gets too messy, and it's hard to extract those answers. So the FAQ with clear headers and concise definitions, it's very good. That is one of the steps that you want to take. But AEO is a transitional discipline. It shares some of the mechanics of traditional search. It's still Google, it's still Bing, but the output format is really, if you think about, Joe talked about the top of the web page, it's really about synthesis. And it's not so much about that top box blue link anymore. It trains you, and what you should be getting out of it. And for those of you who use a lot of ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever, you really understand the more clear you are, the more that you are specific about what you want, the better answer that you get. You know, find me burgers is a little different than find me a great cheeseburger where I can get bacon and everything else. It'll narrow it down for you. But if you move into GEO, so this is the new frontier, I think. When someone asks ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini a question, there's no ranked results anymore. There is the synthesized answer, and it's kind of win or lose on this one. Your brand is either cited in that answer or it's invisible, period. That is what it is. And I want to point out, because I don't know how far I'll get into this, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Gemini, they all function in different ways. They all like to cite what they like to cite, okay? So let me give you an example of GEO. So if a patient asks ChatGPT, what's the best orthopedic clinic for ACL surgery in Phoenix? Okay, this is the more general part. The AI pulled 1,200 practice Google reviews. AI pulls practices of 1,200 Google reviews, 4.7 stars. Joe talked about recency and freshness. That's very important. It mentions ACL. It says Dr. Martinez, and then it's got a little quote and it says, got back to running. It doesn't stop there. The Google business profile, accurate locations and hours, health grades, vital profiles, board certification, and Phoenix Magazine top doctors, okay, earned media, third-party earned media. It reads all of that. It reads all of that. So again, SEO is your foot in the door. Make sure it's good. AEO, make sure your content is super tight and pointed. And that means know your customer. Know what your customer is going to ask. And so the mechanics there are fundamentally different than SEO. The research shows that it's like large scale experiments talked about running AI search engine queries, and they show what they called systematic and overwhelming bias from this paper towards earned media. Yeah, your page gets you visible, it gets you on the internet, but they want to know, it's like you're not going to get to control all of your content anymore. They want to look at like G2. They want to understand, what do other people think of you? And that earned media really matters. So the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this slide, and I'll jump to the next one. If you're not selected, you disappear. Okay. In traditional SEO, being on page 2 was bad. In GEO, not being in the answer means that you don't exist for that query. So content completeness is now at the paragraph level. All of those years that we sat in a political science class, I had a student say this to me once. Well, I mean, this isn't a writing class. He was in my stats class. This isn't a writing class because his writing was terrible. Well, guess what? Your writing really, really matters. It can't be fluff. Got to be pointed. So that's what I mean by all of these matter simultaneously. Okay. Slide 2. So before you optimize anything, and I think that we're all kind of guilty of this, I guarantee you, everybody on the call today, you've Googled yourself. What do you look like on the internet? I think you can AI search yourself, but if you're trying to optimize anything, a lot of times what I've seen is that companies they'll test their own brand name. Yeah, I get it, but think from your customer's perspective. What do you think your customer is going to search about you? What is it that you have to offer? Why do your customers come to you? And do that kind of search. Okay. So there's 3 kinds of queries: informational, consideration, and transactional. The informational query is like, how does a tankless water heater installation work? A consideration query is best plumbing companies in Denver for tankless install. And transactional is like, well, book a tankless water heater install near me. So the research tells us something really critical about this and what happens when you run those queries through AI engines. Across multiple verticals, comparing Google AI search to systems like ChatGPT and Perplexity, what was found is that AI search engines show, again, an overwhelming bias towards earned media, third-party authoritative sources. So that is really, really a big deal. Fix your source of truth. This one, it sounds really basic, but this is where most brands are leaking visibility without knowing it. AI systems, they don't just read your website. And so I'll repeat again, yes, your website matters. Google business profile, make sure you have it filled out. Yelp, health grades, G2, your documentation, your pricing pages, your public directory entries. Some of my own experimentation with doing this, it's surprising how tight the legal language on your web page is to explain what your business does. It's super just straightforward, no jargon. It will come up often. And it's like, yes, it sounds boring, but you want to get in that search, got to be tight. I don't think you have to be that stifled, but you got to be tight. So if you think about your website as like a listings as an API for AI, one of the things that you really got to start to think about is schema.org markup. So JSON LD for your product, services, locations, reviews, pricing, hours. It's not just a logo tag. It is full structured data that connects your brand to your people. And there's just a ton of empirical evidence out there, again, from the academic research, that that's what you need to do. So engineer for justification. This is where the research gives us the most explicit guidance. And it says, do things like position adjusted word count and subjective impression scoring. The strongest methods were adding statistics, adding quotations from authoritative sources, again, and citing sources explicitly. Their best performing strategies that they found is that it improved their visibility up to 40%. And thank you. Yes, it's on page signals. I appreciate that, Christy. So what this means in practice is that you need to publish machine usable evidence and not just marketing language. Okay, so that's going to be a shift for some folks. The last one that I want to touch on is just build that earned authority. It's something that we're fighting for as companies anyways. You want that recognition. You want that great set of reviews, or even local business. I was a local business chamber of commerce winner. If you're very local like that, put it on your website. That is local trust in who you are and what it is that you do. So it's not just about having reviews, but those reviews absolutely matter. Recency, volume, keyword richness that Joe has already talked about. So I think that there's a big part that says these are all the talk tracks that you need. This is what you need to think about. Okay, so every claim that I have here, it's all grounded in really great academic research. And so here at Reputation, we're designed to help, and this is what we do to help brands govern exactly these signals. Churning reviews, listings, updated customer feedback, keep it fresh, keep it recent, and trust the infrastructure that AI systems recognize. But where is all of this headed? So I'm going to turn it over to Lou, and he's going to give us the forward-looking view of where we're going with all of this.
Carter, thanks. That was amazing. I myself am going to have to go unpack that in the video, and there was so much in there. I appreciate that. First of all, thank you to the team for the invitation today to join everybody, and thank you to everyone for taking the time out to join us today. This is an amazing topic, and one that I've been spending quite a bit of time on the last couple of years. Quickly, for those that don't know us, IDC is one of the largest research firms in the world. We're based in Boston, Massachusetts, and we've been tracking technology like this for well over 60 years. We survey technology customers every month. We do a future enterprise resiliency and spending survey, we affectionately call FERS, and then we do periodic surveys, future of work, CX Path, SaaS Path, and many more over the course of a year. So we love the data. I love to get into the data and share it with our clients and with you. There's so much to talk about here. One of the things I'd love to do a quick throwback, Joe, that IBM Selectric took me right back, so we were probably in the same class there. But going the other way, looking to the far future, from the SEO through the AEO to the GEO. I'd even hesitate one more step that we're beginning to talk about more at IDC, which is the GEO is really where we are all engaging the agents online to figure out what we want to buy, where we want to go, what information we want to have. We also are seeing now a move to the consumers having their own agents. Agents will be on mobile, agents will be on desktop, and the agents will therefore communicate with the other agents in a whole new way that we are really excited about moving forward into the future. So that really is on the other side of it. What I want to get into now a little bit more for my part, and I didn't do slides because I like to just talk. is really more about the impact that we're going to see, we're seeing today, and that we're seeing down the road in the future. Now, one of the things we developed at IDC a couple years ago was a maturity spectrum on AI. And if you think about it, at the beginning, a few years ago, there was the generative AI, there's the assistive AI, which is now beginning to give answers and provide summaries to you. There's advisors which are now making suggestions to you on actions to take, products to buy, where to go to do things. We're moving into AI agents now, where we're automating workflows, and to the full-blown agentic AI at the upper end of the spectrum, at least as it is today, where agents are now fully automating different workflows and working and learning from one another in this new agentic world that we're moving into. So there's basically these 5 different levels of the maturity spectrum. What the data is telling us today is that roughly we're about 80% of the deployments are in the first third or so. So roughly with AI deployments today, with enterprise and organizations with AI and agentic AI, we're in the generative, the assistive, the advisor mode. What we see in 5 to 6 years, which is really not that far, just at the end of this decade, is we're going to be shifting that to the other side. We're going to be roughly 80% on the upper third, where most of the effort that you're going to be seeing and interacting is going to be on the agentic and the AI side. So the call for action for us is to make sure that you're implementing AI, you're staying as far ahead with it as you can, you're basically embracing the technology as much as you can today. So that's kind of the snapshot of where we are today. From a deployment perspective, folks over the last year or so have, and I talk with many about where are they in the deployment of the AI. And basically, of the different programs of AI and the agentic AI that are out there, a third of them are actually already in production, is what the data is showing us today. A third are in the planning phases, and a third are in the testing phases. So a significant portion are already actually in deployment, in production today out there. There has been kind of a discussion about this. Are we in the chasm right now? Are we pausing right now? And there was, due to risk, due to these hallucinations last year, that there was a little bit of a pause. There was a focus more on deployments inside an organization, lowering the risk rather than out to the customers. But that has begun to change significantly now as we move into more of these from the AEO into the GEO and the traction that those are getting in the market today. From a marketing perspective, on productivity improvements from the AI, 32% improvements out of AI today in the marketing organizations with campaigns, with data and research. And that's just this year that we've seen already. We expect that our customers do to extend beyond 40% by the end of just this year alone. So the productivity enhancements are not trivial. They are enormous. They are here and they are here to stay. The gains, for the most part, in the short term are in the analytics and the reporting side in the marketing, but very quickly followed by the creative production. And that really is going to be key for how do I deal with this on my side? Creativity and producing the output to feed into the AI is really where the organizations need to be. From a spending perspective, within AI spending, 30% of it is on agentic AI today already. And by the end of the year, it's going to be over 40%. So the agentic AI is clearly where everybody is jumping all into it today. So I just throw those numbers out so that you have a sense of kind of benchmarking, where are you falling, yardsticking, if you will, on kind of where are we with our deployments and efforts around the AI and the agentic. Metrics was another one that I was asked about. What's happening with metrics? Where are they going down the road a little bit? So previously, NPS, Net Promoter Score, CSAT have always been kind of the biggest ones from a measurement perspective on how are we doing as an organization. What's interesting is over the last year or two, we've seen NPS drop significantly. It's down to 20% or so as the top rated ranking for metrics that are being used by organizations. CSAT is still staying significantly up there. These are CX metric perspective. Customer retention and customer lifetime value jumping up significantly. So moving into the qualitative. So think about that as to how do we measure those as an organization? In my vertical, how do we measure the customer retention? How do we measure that lifetime value? and making sure qualitatively that we're doing things that are going to be focused on those, moving into CSAT and away from the NPS as well. From a marketing metrics perspective, we're now moving to the AEO, the GEO, and so you're seeing moving away from click-through rates, like Joe mentioned at the beginning, down almost 60% year over year. So the whole middle of the funnel on the marketing side is disappearing. Click-through rates, we're leaving it up to the AI agents to do all the research and the legwork for us on the web. And we just basically are able to take all the benefits of that data coming to us and missing out on that entire journey in the middle. So it's a really interesting change that we're beginning to see right now. And we see there may be a pause or so this year, next year, as some of the really bigger players start to uh, transition the entire market. But then it's really going to accelerate after that through towards the end of this decade. Um, Another component or another metric that I wanted to mention too that really just struck me as I was going through some of the data. By 2029, 64% of the customer interactions are going to be via agents and answer engines, almost 70%. So again, that whole middle component of what we do today by going in and using SEO, a little bit of AEO, is really going to be just taken away. It's going to be completely transformed. So that's going to be a really interesting thing that we're going through as we see this change. A little bit about the data. I want to talk about the data that is feeding into what was the SEO, the AEO, the GEO, and some things some terms I threw down that I think I like to use to kind of keep it in context. So SEO was optimizing pages, just like Carter was talking about. AEO was all about optimizing answers, right? And getting the answers and bringing those to you. Whereas the GEO is all about optimizing perceptions. And that's a completely different change. And just like Carter was saying, the answers, the data has got to be in the written area itself. It's not about the rankings. It's not about more of the numbers. It's about the qualitative side of it. It's the sentiment, the tonality. It's moving from what used to be structured data. If you're following any customer feedback history, used to be a lot of surveys, interviews, linear kind of data. Now we're moving to unstructured data. Well over 80% of a lot of the enterprises taking in data today is unstructured data, which is existing on communities, product review sites, social media sites, product information areas. This is all not one-to-one where the consumers are talking to the brand, but it's many to many where consumers are talking to each other. They're talking to the brand. Brands are saying, oh boy, I need to figure out how to engage with my customers at those different places where they want to be, not coming to me as the brand anymore. That's where the engagement is. And it incorporates sentiment, tonality, context, themes. Use cases are incredibly important these days. Loyalty, confidence, and the reputation that you have out there is really what's feeding into the GEO today. So it's important to think about those when you're building your agentic AI programs out there. And I did hear too, from Carter mentioned location. Location is incredibly important too because these systems are now working not just worldwide, but also regionally. So the benchmarking that you can get, competitive information that is beginning to be collated and gathered here also comes down to local neighborhoods as well. So incredible richness that we have as the data is being gathered. Um, as we like to say, as software goes, so go the market. So just to kind of start winding to the end here, one of the things that I wanted to mention was survey data that we see today is still strong. AI investments are growing, the markets on IT investments are growing, but we are beginning to see that there's going to be, I don't know if I call it a pause or a retrenching, but just the impact that the AI is having as the organizations are shifting gears to this GEO model from the SEO and the AEO model is going to be so transformative that there will most likely be some kind of a pause or a retrenching in order to get through that to the other side. Once we do, those accelerators are really going to take off in how this entire market and how we interact with one another and the brands is going to completely change. And so the most important thing to remember, like we've seen with mobile, like we've seen with cloud, the early adopters, the early ones that are pushing, making the mistakes, embracing that technology are really going to be the ones that come through the first and are able to make the most gains as winners on the other side. And so here that's meaning again back to the data. It's the optimizing the perceptions of the data and trying to figure out how to get that out there. The ultimate end goal is that we say as IDC by the 2030, AI is going to replatform $500 billion in digital commerce. So that whole process, that that journey that we had been taking customers on is going to completely get upended and change all of the tools and the process that are in the middle. And we need to make sure that if you want to be a winner on the other side, you've got to adopt that technology first and jump out and make sure that you're in there. So just to wrap up, again, make sure that you're going after um, perceptions, optimizing the perceptions for the GEO, uh, and think about what kind of program you have around the AI and the agentic adoption, and make sure that you're on the winning side and coming through first. So at the end of the day, it's all about your brand, all about your reputation, and the quality that you have out there. So I appreciate the time today. Thanks, Christy. I'll bring it back over to
Yes.
you.
Yeah, no, that's great. We had a couple of quick follow-up questions just for your piece of, in your opinion, where does SEM fit within? Is that an outdated strategy, or is that still pieces of the puzzle here?
It is still, yeah, it's still pieces of the puzzle today. Like, yeah. And so it's hard. The transformation is going to have an anchor still there and a component for that. But yeah, absolutely.
And the percentage of interactions that will be agentic in the near future, can you repeat that percentage for the group?
The interactions, I think that was over
Over
60%. Right.
60% is, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly right.
terrific. Well, this is great stuff. They've got a lot of questions coming in. You can tell that it's on everybody's mind, that's for sure. One of the questions that has come in, and I think, Carter, let me pass this to you, is as the AI platforms increasingly shape how consumers discover information, are there strategic partnership opportunities with AI providers that would give deeper visibility into companies' content and how it's performing, and how you get sort of systematically strengthening the AEO and GEO strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're so early in this. I think what you hear consistently across what I talked about, what Joe talked about, and what Lou talked about is there's at this point, you're trying to do your best with the content that you own in various places to be clear, to be straightforward, and do everything that you can to show up in that first search that you even get to be a citation, and then B, you get cited. And it will be interesting, and I think that Lou might have some thoughts. I'm not putting any pressure on you, Lou. You might have some thoughts on this, but I am always going to go back at this point and say, make sure that content is tight, make sure that it's readable, and make it not, we talked about machine friendly, but make it human friendly. Answer the question, and don't make somebody jump all over. Like, you've been on these websites where you're jumping all over the place and you're trying to figure out what is it that you do. And that's what I mentioned about legal pages are so stilted sometimes. Man, that's good content. So I think it's like, start there and let's see where we head, but own what you can own. And again, every business, and Lou mentioned this as well, don't think because you're local or regional that stuff doesn't matter for you. It really does.
So, Joe, I wanted to ask you a question. We talk a lot about it at Reputation, obviously, when you and I are talking about budgets and where I, from a marketing standpoint, am going to spend my dollars. Since we're starting to see the shift going from SEO spend, going into some of these new tools, how would you position this for a prospect that says, how can I go and justify this spend to a CFO? You talk to customers a lot, you're hearing their challenges. What sort of helps them make that story internal there?
So, Christy, great question. And I'll try to answer that and wrap up a partial answer to two or three of the questions in the chat all at
Perfect.
once, if we can. And clearly, there's a lot more to it. So, my pitch to it's interesting. I actually pitched to my board why we needed to go hard on GEO um, as a next generation of online reputation management, if you will.
Hmm.
Okay. And my story to my board, the story I've been recommending to customers is look, um, today we all understand, today even the CFO understands the need for SEO, SEM. They understand the need to be found on the internet. The difference is SEO, SEM could be primarily bought, number one. And number two, it was okay to be in the top 5 or 10 results.
Hmm.
Best if you're number one, two, three, because the consumer looks there. If you're on the first page, you're okay. What has changed, Mr. CFO, is or Miss, is that in GEO, you gotta earn it, and you gotta earn it a lot of places. To show up in that AI summary, you have to manage all aspects of your online reputation. These are some of the things we can do as a company and we can talk to people about later. So you have to get your listings correct on every listing site that matters for your industry, not just Google. Okay, Google's super important. Obviously, it's universal. You got to get it right on every listing site. You got to be varying the content in the ways that Carter and team know get picked up by Gemini, get picked up by ChatGPT, on and on. You've got to earn the AI engine's trust in addition to the consumer's trust by having long, authentic reviews, authentic responses that are done all the time. It's not just about the star rating and the frequency, still important, but you got to have this ongoing dialogue with every customer all the time. What excites me so much is that winning in GEO is winning in a quality reputation
Hmm.
management system. You're intimate with your consumers. You're intimate with your consumers. Boy, does Carter have a lot to say about HIPAA in review responses and
That's
how
a
to
whole
do
nother
that
webinar.
and how to do that safely. But my answer is it was okay to be number two or three in a traditional search environment. Like the bad old movie says, if you ain't first, you're last
Yeah.
in the new environment. We can help you get there, have a serious program around it, and we're happy to tell you more. But you go tell your CFO that click-throughs to your site are off 50 or 60% in this new world. And the way you get found is by doing all this. And I bet they'll be all ears.
Yes, agreed. And it is, I mean, as marketers, as experience officers, we have to worry about all these things now, right? And so looking at an engine like what Reputation does make it easier to automate and get this sort of proliferated out further. Lou, I'm going to have you kind of be our last question here since we are running out of time. Um, how is this different than other buzzwords that we've seen? We've heard so many different trends, especially as a marketer. This is the thing we worry about. Oh, this is the next one. This one feels different. So, how would you describe that this is different and something that is really needs to be a top priority for people?
Yeah, this is it is a shiny object, and boy, is it a big shiny object, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the difference is that this is really a technological fundamental change to not just the technology, but to the workflows that we see in just every department of every organization. And you really have to understand that these are fundamental changes to the ways that we're working. Initially, they were assistants and advisors, like I mentioned. And those are great. Super productivity enhancements, the technology, we started learning what is this thing, and it's been available for a long time. But it really started to come out with the generative, the conversational AI interfaces, the chat, the voice. And now it's beginning with the agentic to really kind of take on a whole new transformation and impact to the way we do everything in an organization, inside, outside. Um, those that are embracing it are seeing it already. And I
Hmm.
would, again, strongly recommend if you're not doing it internally, go find someone that is to see what really the impact is to the organizations. There was a lot of talk about it's going to be replacing people, and then it wasn't. And so there's been a lot of unknowns around it. And is it going to be, and well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's just another technology, et cetera. Okay, maybe it is, but the impact of how it's affecting, again, not just the technology piece, but every workflow in an organization just can't be ignored. And so the
Right.
biggest thing is just look at the data. Look at the data on the impact that it's having to the organizations, the metrics that are changing, and where you need to spend the time and the effort to make sure that you're, one, keeping up with the right metrics, and then making sure that you're ahead of those competitors that are embracing them as well. So it's going to be really exciting. I think we're just beginning to see some of the impact. Like I mentioned, I think this year is going to be a little bit of another transitional year, but then we're really going to start to take off towards the end of the decade. It's going to be an
Yes.
incredible run.
It is here to stay, and it is changing the landscape in a very exciting way, especially knowing that there is ways to combat that, there is ways to shift this. Um, I'm going to give you each about a 10 seconds to answer this because this is going to be our quick. What is one takeaway for people who have joined us today, right? We've got lots of things to be thinking about, lots of things to tackle. What is the one thing that you would say in the next 30 days that you could start to do that is going to start to impact the visibility in this AI world? Lou, you're off mute already, so you get to go first.
Thanks. And I'll give you a plug, but I think it's right on. I'd say measure your reputation. You got to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
That's it.
Joe,
That's it. Yep.
it's a good one to follow.
Um, no, absolutely. In the next 30 days, what could you do? Answer every review deeply that's coming into your site and get every listing right. If that seems too overwhelming for you to get, then schedule time with us. We'd love to tell you more about how we can make that a manageable task.
Yes, perfect. And Carter?
Yeah, just remember that the AI isn't ranking you. These search engines, AI search isn't ranking you. It's deciding on whether to trust you enough to recommend you by name. It is a fundamentally different bar, but I'll say it again, SEO is not dead. Take care of it. Make yourself visible.
Yes. And I would say it is going back to, we've talked again about a lot of things. It's on page signals. It's also the interactions, making sure you are talking to your customers, the reviews, the star ratings, all of those things matter to the new crawling, right? We used to just say your website gets crawled for SEO. This is a very different world. So thank you so much to all of our panelists. This has been a very engaged audience as well. I'm loving the chats, the Q&A. We're trying to get to all of those. Thank you to the team at Reputation who's jumping in and answering the questions for us. Everybody who registered today will get a recording of the webinar today and all the great snippets that you have learned and received today. And again, reach out if we can help you. We're here and raring to go. So thank you again, Lou, Carter, Joe, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Take care.